Let's start with another Bandcamp Friday episode roundtable discussion for July of 2022. I am Trev Allen, host of the Struggling Artist podcast. With me is Michael Grattan, host of Punk is Folk YouTube channel, YouTube content creator. Did I say that right? I don't know.
Sure.
Chris of That One Time at Bandcamp. And as always,
that's on hiatus still.
That's on hiatus, except for these, right? You put these out though.
Yeah, I think these ones should be up.
Yeah. So, and as always, Jeff Bousquet of Dirty Decibels podcast. Welcome back, hiatus. Gentlemen. Welcome back. How are we feeling this month? We're about to walk into fucking July. It's hot and humid.
It's hot here too in Buffalo, man. And I'm half alive. Like I went to bed later than normal last night, so the coffee hasn't kicked in yet.
7:30,
8:30, and I was just like, I can't do this.
Yeah, that's rough.
2 a.m.
Oh man.
Yeah.
2 a.m.
Yeah, I
think dude.
I think I went to bed around 2, or maybe it was 1, and I just couldn't sleep after the whole.
Oh yeah.
You know, I found it. There was like it was just gross. I turned the light on. I changed the sheets like that was gonna do anything. You know, dog's looking at me like, well, I thought it was bedtime. But then she had to get up at 6 o'clock. So I don't know how much sleep I've gotten, but we're here.
We're
doing it.
We're doing it. So I got to pick this month, right? I got to pick the thing for this month, and I went with live albums because we had a live album last month, and I was talking about we kind of had a discussion about how live albums are either hit or miss, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I figured let's all grab one and we can discuss them and see how it goes.
And you grabbed 3.
Were they all?
Oh no, 2. Sorry, you grabbed 2.
Yeah, but
Not
one
3.
was like
2.
live, like recorded in a studio live.
Yeah,
kind of thing. You know, it was cool though. I enjoyed it. So, So who wants to kick off this month?
If I say you do, I say it's your pick. You kick it.
Okay. All right, I'll kick it off. So anyway, what Bandcamp is Bandcamp still doing the fee waves?
Yeah,
we're still there. So if this is your first time listening to one of our podcasts and you're hearing this for the first time, what we do is we get together every month and we discuss albums to pick up on Bandcamp for Bandcamp Friday. Bandcamp Friday is the first Friday of every month where the website Bandcamp waives their fees, not all the fees, just their fees from artists, so they get more dinero. I've been on a dinero kick, like a moolah dinero. Not
cheese,
saying
cheddar,
not Robert.
Cheese and cheddar is something completely different where I'm from. Those are drugs, sir. So sorry. So I'll kick things off. My first pick is out of Boston. This is the local pick. It's the band Worshipper, and the album is Live at Some Studio. I don't even know how I think Angela Wood had a post on them, and I was like, let me check out this band, because Angela Wood loves New England music and she does a lot to promote it. So I said, well, let me check this out. Maybe this could be a pick, and it ended up being my pick. This was recorded live in a studio. It's got very 80s metal vibes, like Iron Maiden-esque vibes. I don't know if anyone else kind of caught that. I was into it. I don't know how long they've been around, but they got that sound down, and it's cool to hear bands that have kind of like an older sound doing newer stuff. So that was why I picked this one.
I like this because since we talked about this last time we were talking about live albums, in that when this isn't a traditional live album without the crowd, you know what I mean? But the fact that they went into the studio all plugged in and started playing, this isn't tracked. This isn't cuts, different takes. So that's the thing I really appreciated about it, was that how tight the band sounded, you know what I mean, as they played together in this. And the production on this too was what was killer to me. I thought it sounded amazing. I mean, the band just sound the guitars, the bass, everything, the drums sound so amazing on this. 80s hair metal is what I hear when you said that, is because for me, I felt a very, especially the second song, a very strong Scorpions vibe. Like it totally felt like Scorpions. But I said, yeah, this is pretty cool. Hard stoner rock. It's heavy. It's thundering. I like it.
I was yeah, I think it's funny you mentioned, like, I'm not sure how long they've been around, because I wrote down, where the fuck did this band come from? Because I also realized too that, like, Boston's music scene is extremely diverse, and I self-admittedly am mostly steeped in like the punk rock world. So there's a lot of amazing, wonderfully talented bands in Boston that I've not heard of before. And so it's always a pleasure to hear more. Yeah, I wrote big cosmic rocks, dense rock sound. I was really impressed by it. I don't know. I got more of a, at least at the beginning, like a Muse, Wolf Mother type, like,
yeah, I hear that.
Vibes. That's like kind of the music that I was comparing it to. But yeah, no, I just thought it was cool. It's just another great band that I am kind of curious to dig into a little bit more. So thanks for bringing that one, Trev.
Yeah.
I had down that these guys would be really rad to see live. Like if they play that tight, just plugging in a studio, going one shot at it, like I'm sure they put on a really good live show. I don't know who Scorpions are. But yeah, it reminded me of like the metal music my uncles would listen to growing up, which is a compliment. Like I love that stuff. I just don't really remember it very much.
My wife is a huge hair metal and 80s hair metal person. She grew up listening to it when she was a kid. Her brothers were older, and that's what they were into at the time in the 80s. So I hear all that stuff all the time. So I could tell you who's who, what they sound like, whose band is a super group.
I need to like dig back into it, because that was one of those things you do as a kid. Like you don't actually appreciate the shit that's going on around you. So I just wanted to be as far away from that as I could.
There's some good stuff.
They were the people in my family listening to the good music.
Rock You Like a Hurricane, Michael. That's the Scorpions.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You've heard that.
Okay. Yeah.
It's looking like, and don't quote me on this, but 2015/2016 they've been around. So they're fairly new. I mean,
less than 10 years.
Yeah, less than 10 years. So that's pretty cool. I thought they would have been around a little bit longer than that, but I guess I was wrong. And well, I'm glad everyone enjoyed that one. All right, so my second pick, the criteria was live bands, even though the first one was a live band as well. You might call this one low-hanging fruit, but I have tons of reasoning behind it. So I went with Off With Their Heads, Don't Tell Me How To live. And they specifically say live, like when he explained what it was, it's like, it's not Don't Tell Me How to Live, it's live. So, and he makes little puns like that with his records all the time. This album was probably one of two albums that I listened to in 2020 that I was like, wow, like I like live albums. And as I said before, usually I'm not a fan of live albums. You really got, for me, I got to hunt for them, but this one was just one that you could feel the chemistry right away. You could feel it right away throughout the whole album. You can, and if you're not familiar with Off With Their Heads, Ryan Young is probably one of the best songwriters out there right now. and I think his stuff I think he'll be one of the best songwriters of all time, I don't know. When this album came out, I was like, all right, I was going through some shit, right? So that's how I always been a fan of Off With Their Heads, but I really connected with them when I was going through some shit, which sucks because it's depressing fucking music, So and I actually, like, when this album came out, I heard Disappear and I was like, all right, if I can get through the song Disappear, I can get through anything. And then they played Nightlife live, and I swear to you, I like started crying in my car because I was just like like I said, I was just going through some shit. My dog was in the back seat judging me. It was, so I think like I said, I think this one really, the thing about going to see live music is the chemistry you get, like the vibe you feel from it, and this translates right into the record. So that's why I picked it.
Nice. I wrote down that this is a proper live album. It was high energy. It's passionate rock and roll. It gives me a lot of so again, to kind of throw it back in comparison to things, it gave me a Bruce Springsteen E Street Band feel, that kind of high energy rock and roll interaction with the crowd. Not the sound of it, but that kind of feel of the music. I said it sounded like a fun show, but there was a couple things I noticed. First, there's a point in there. Did they self-reference themselves as the Legendary off with their heads? They did,
Yes,
right?
they
Yeah.
do.
That's awesome. That's fucking awesome. And then this is the other thing I noticed. They did this thing with their live show that almost every song ends with that strike, like that guitar strike and that crash of cymbal, that bang, almost every song. And I was like, hang on, let me go back. So I went back and I just started hitting each track, and you can hear the song end before that track, and everyone goes bang, 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 bang. So it's a very grandiose kind of thing typically when you're performing, and that's how you're ending it. So in my head, I could see this as being like you said, a very fun, energetic show. I'd be definitely interested in seeing them live if I had a chance.
They're really good live.
Yeah, they are really good live, and they do
feel like it just out of this album. I just felt like I was like, in there. I was in the crowd, dude. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think that it was. I think it's a great live record. The mix isn't the best. So you've got like the energy side of things, and you've got the production side of things on like every live record, and that's something I've honed into more now too. Like that we've started doing like since last episode, where like I didn't really pay too much attention to live records before this either. So, but yeah, and I think Ryan Young, he's like a really good songwriter. He's also a super nice guy, and he's like a super passionate guy. And like a lot of his music is super depressing to me, and I think that it makes it relatable. So it's actually listening to it makes you feel less depressed in a way.
It makes you feel better. Yeah. It makes you feel not alone, right?
Yeah. He's really good about normalizing. I think that band has normalized, being honest and like feeling your feelings, and like you're being in touch with your mental health and not like bottling it up. And I super appreciate that from this band. And I think this is a great example of like what it's like to go to one of their live shows and just, watch them. They're super passionate. He stops that one song, some lady in the crowd, like somebody she got hit or something like that. And he's like, what the fuck? Get the fucker out of here. Like stops the show. And so he says something like, so we can go back to changing lives or whatever. They do that like tongue-in-cheek thing a lot, which is super fun. So it's a good record.
One thing I hate is how much if you listen to his podcast or listen to him like talk about it, like he hates his lyrics. Like he's like, I don't think they're good. He's like, I whip them together at the last minute, and I'm like, bullshit. I just want to be like, bullshit. You know what I mean? But it's just part of I feel like he suffers from imposter syndrome, much like a lot of people do. So
yeah.
But that was my second pick, Michael.
So Trev actually turned me on to Off With Their Heads, and since then Ryan Young has become like you guys said, he's in my top 5 favorite songwriters. Clear the Air fucking hits me every time, and I think they end the album with it. I guess all I can do is parrot what you guys said. Like, it's super relatable, and the lyrics are depressing, but like Jeff said, at the same time uplifting. Like, I always view it like this dude went through the shit that I'm feeling or have felt, and he's doing this with it. Like, there is a positive at the end, or can be if you choose that. And the mix, I actually really like this sort of sloppy mix because captures the feeling. I feel like it more captures the feeling of being there, that excessive crowd noise and the interplay between the crowd. And I believe this was recorded in Chicago, which is like their hometown,
Right.
home-ish town. So yeah,
Where they're legendary.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
band sounds
They're legendary in my garage too. Like there's 4 songs on that album that get played here several times a week. Disappear, Clear the Air, Old Man, Nightlife probably gets played on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love Off With Their Heads. And if you haven't checked them out, listen to Trev Allen and go fucking check them out. And also check out Ryan Young's podcast when he's doing it, because it's really good too.
Anxious and Angry.
Yeah.
It's a great name for a podcast too. It's a fantastic name.
Yeah. So also just to say, like, when he calls them themselves legendary, it's very in fun nature. Like yeah.
That's what I was saying. It's awesome. Like I loved it.
So all right, so my last band, and I'm interested to see what you guys think of these guys. Out of Seattle, Washington, we have the Scoffs. I picked their 3-song EP Just Cause because it was the newest one, but everything that I've listened from them, they've got like a 6-song EP, I think, or a 5 or 6-song EP. Then they're on a compilation album too. Everything they put out, I really enjoy. These guys are like, they're like, if your scale was Slade and Thin Lizzy on the other end, they're like right there in the middle. It's bizarre. I enjoy hearing that classic, as I like to say, sound with newer bands. It just goes to show you it's not classic, it's just rock and roll, and people still make that style of rock and roll or whatever the fuck. And these guys do it well. Their songs are very catchy. I find myself singing along to them. Sometimes probably I shouldn't be. We'll never should be because I can't sing. But like when I'm like bellowing out, they have a song. It's not on this EP, but they have a song called Little Blue Tyrants, and it's one of the most catchy anti-cop songs I've ever heard. It's fantastic. But yeah, so I gave this one, like I said, this is their newest release, so I wanted to bring this one to the forefront. But you know, for less than $12, you can get everything they have, you know. So I highly recommend it.
I gotta listen to that track. That's a great title.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that one out as well. This is so I'm gonna start this by saying, for listeners who are listening for the first time, that we don't always agree on music. So not that there was anything wrong with this music. It has that old school punk sound, like you said, right there in the middle between Slade and Thin Lizzy. It's got a very kind of retro 70s feel to it. And it's not bad. It's just, maybe it's just these songs or these collection of songs didn't connect with me. Do you know what I mean? Like I could see why you like it. And I can see that. I'm not saying it's like we've said that before, right? You can hear hear something is good. Like I hear that they're good. It's just, it didn't really connect with me. I remember I finished listening to it and I was just like, oh, let me go back and start again and see like what can I connect to in something in there that's going to pull me in. And not that it's, again, I feel like I have to keep saying not that it's bad, and I don't have to say that. It's just something that didn't connect with me. I can see how you do like it though. And it's yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. It wasn't bad. It's just I didn't really have much that I heard that made me go, wow, this is awesome. Let me go check out more. Now, when you said that other track, now I want to check it out just because I know what that song's about. You know what I mean? And maybe that'll be something that helps me kind of connect. But on these songs, not so much.
I liked it myself. I wrote down the lyrical structure reminds me of like Mischief Brew style existentialism. Some of like the way that he's singing, not the style of music, but just like his lyrics. Big classic rock sounds. I thought there were killer guitar solos on it. And I really liked like the vocal mix. They did like kind of an Elvis style slapback on those vocals in there. I thought sounded really good and was like pretty well done. So yeah, I know I was leaning more towards production on this one, but like I do agree that like I think it's nice to hear new modern bands like still doing that sound really well for me. And it's just fun. It's just like kind of fun music to listen to. So I dug it. I thought it was pretty cool.
This is the point in the podcast where I apologize for being ill prepared. I only heard one song off of this album, and it was about 5 minutes before we started this. So
That's fine.
it is one I
It
am
means
going.
you get up real early.
I did wake up early. I enjoyed the one song I heard and will be returning to it, but I don't really have anything insightful to say. I like that
Cool.
we can all agree that maybe we can get Chris in on this not liking cops thing. That's his that's the thread that'll like bring him into the band.
Something we can all agree on.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't bad. They sound good. Like I get what it is. I don't know what it is that just couldn't hook me. You know what I mean? That sometimes you're just kind of like you're trying to find something in it, and it just wasn't there for me. That's
Totally.
all.
Yeah.
You're still cool.
I didn't dig into the lyrics on this too hard either, self-admittedly. You know,
Yeah.
I had enough time this week to give everything like a brief perusing.
Nice. All right, who are we doing next?
I'll go. I don't care. My first pick for hold on a second because I don't even remember my picks. Oh, my local pick is Creeping Nun from Toledo, Ohio, and the band is Black Swamp Bloodbath. This is a local band, obviously. That's why it's in the local section. They have like a horror punk / rockabilly ish vocal vibe, and I don't know. I had seen them play at a local venue and I dug their music, so I thought they'd be a good fit here. If you're into that like horror creeper, that sounded bad, but you guys know what I mean. Like Misfits, only a little more rockabilly, I would say.
That's what they call the shoes. So I mean, like I could see them wearing those shoes.
Yeah.
That's creeper.
Yeah.
Creeper fits perfectly.
I put that this was so I liked this. It has this lo-fi feel to the production. And it had this, like you said, this kind of Misfits, maybe a little bit of Ramones, and even some early AFI in there. It felt like it. Hot rod horror punk is what I put down because it just has that feel to it. Yeah, definitely one that was it's fun. It's definitely fun if you're into this kind of stuff. And when I'm in the mood for it, I could see myself putting these guys on.
I thought it was cool how when the record first started, they have that like kind of funky long intro, right? And then like, so I was expecting something to come that was different. And then when it actually like kicked in, I was like, oh, whoa, oh, okay. Like I like that little twist they did at the beginning of it. That was like stuck out to me. I was not a big fan of the mix on this one. I thought it sounded super muffled. Thought the drums sounded super muffled.
Drums were for sure, yeah.
And that bummed me out, not because of anything to do with the band themselves. It bummed me out because I feel like it doesn't do the band justice. Like I hate that when like it's a good band and you're like, oh, they sound tight and they're talented and like it's actually kind of a cool, spooky vibe with this band. Like I just wanted it to sound better for them, you know?
Yeah.
So that always bums me out when that happens. But I totally also can appreciate how difficult and expensive it is to make a record, and like bands, I applaud bands for just doing it and getting it done even if it doesn't sound perfect. So definitely not to their detriment, but I was bummed that the mix was weird. I felt like the vocals were okay, but the drums sounded like super super dark and muffled. But I thought it was like a cool like genre bending sound to them overall that I liked. So
yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to say outside of what you guys said. It's I had written down like it's fun Misfit style horror punk. It's cool to hear everyone's, you know, like it's always cool to hear like something new to me that's like that horror pop punk kind of thing going on, you know. That's about all I got for you though.
Or excuse me. My second pick for the live album, I also went with Low Hanging Fruit for me. I went with the Homeless Gospel Choir. This is a protest song. It is a live album put out by AF Records and the Homeless Gospel Choir, where Derek set up his phone at a bunch of venues and recorded his sets, and they pieced it together from those phone audio recordings. So it is not great mix, but it is. I like the feel of it. I mean, the Homeless Gospel Choir has some great songs, but I really enjoyed when I put this record on in my garage. It is like being at a Homeless Gospel Choir show for me, or at least the way I remember them and the way the clips on my phone sound. So I don't know. I just thought it was unique, and I also really don't like live albums generally. So this was a fun twist.
Yeah, I've never heard of them. Never heard of Homeless Gospel Choir. So this was my first, exposure to it. I wrote down, this is a DIY live recording. I love this. It feels like I'm there in the back of the room. There's a song called Musical Preference.
Yes,
that's the one that was it. Once I heard that song, I was like, dude, this is good. And then every song after that. And I do love that it was very, political. And I love that the lyrics are clever. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I mean, so is this one guy that goes by the name Homeless Gospel Choir, or what's
it is?
Well, he used to.
Yeah,
used to.
It's a whole band. It's a whole band now.
Oh, okay. And they're still going though.
Yeah,
they are. Oh yeah.
Oh, I'll have
they
to.
were
I have
just
to
out on
catch them.
tour actually with Bad Cop, Bad Cop.
They played in my venue.
Oh my God, that's so awesome, dude. I have to check these guys out live, dude. Yeah, I loved it. Absolutely love this live album.
Jeff, you had him on Dirty Decibels too, right?
I did. So yeah, obviously, Michael, this goes without saying. Like we've bonded over this already. That Homeless Gospel Choir is like literally one of my favorite bands. I love them. I love Derek. He is, in my opinion, an incredibly clever songwriter, and obviously, that's his whole thing. Is every song he starts, it's like, this is a protest song. And I didn't realize that they were all recorded sets from his phone, because I don't have the record myself, and I was just listening to it on Bandcamp. But that makes sense as far as like the sound quality of it and whatever. But if you know him and you know his style and stuff like that, it kind of does fit perfectly for them. They have he's always had this big DIY ethos, and like it's a great way to piece together a record, and it's a perfect like title for the record with him and his songs and stuff like that. They do now play, like, so he now plays with a full band, and they're great. Like I've seen him play with the full band twice. Once at Great Scott, which was one of the last shows I ever saw at Great Scott before it closed. And then the second time around, they came to my venue, and just couldn't have been more awesome to work with. They were all running really late, so we didn't have time to sound check, do a full proper sound check for them. And he was so cool about everything. He was just like, dude, don't even worry about it. We'll line check before we go on. We'll just all play in E. It's punk rock. It's going to be great. Like, don't even sweat it. Like, super nice guy. This record totally encapsulates what it's like to go to see one of his shows. He's just got this great energy live. So if you haven't heard Homeless Gospel Choir, please do go check out and support Homeless Gospel Choir.
I'm not well versed. I feel like I should be, or I feel like the music's right up my alley. And as far as this album, I did pick up on, like, I was like, oh, these have to be like at different places, because it sounded different. You know what I mean? Like, so I picked up on that. I'd like to listen to more. I don't know if this was the like, I've heard like a song here or there, but I don't think this was like the album to be like, all right, this is what's going to get me into them. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm going to check out more. Cause like I said, I mean, on paper, the Homeless Gospel Choir is right up my alley. So shouldn't be,
Yeah.
should be into it.
Yeah, all their full regular albums are, full production band albums, and so great.
Nice. That's awesome.
My last band is my X Factor band. X Factor is X Iron Sharpens Iron X. So from the name, I'm sure you can guess that this is a straight edge hardcore band that has like a blackened, they call it blackened hardcore. I don't listen to metal really. So I don't really understand the whole black metal, death metal, like what that means. But I'm guessing that is where the vocal part comes in. And I dig the sound of this band and this album. I've been going back through their previous work. It's all very good. There is if you look at the lyrics, there is very positive, like affirming vibes that those straight edge bands do tend to provide. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And I really like the Earth Crisis was like a huge influence on me when I was a teenager. And that was the first time I had really heard a band mix that metal and hardcore. And this brought me back to that feeling. Like I wasn't used to the vocals in this song. I'm not used to hearing the shreddy guitar that plays in the song. I'm not used to that kick drum going quite that fast. So I really dig it. I've been listening to this album a lot.
This one is another one for me where I can recognize the musicianship and the talent and that how it sounds, but this is definitely not something that I would be playing. It's I don't know. And it may be the vocals. There are times where I love hardcore. I love metal. I can listen to that. But it's typically when I start getting into like death metal or Swedish death metal, and that there are certain times where the vocals go in a certain range that it just kind of turns me off. And I'm just like, that's not for me. And it's okay. I mean, I can see where it sounds good and how it's good for other people. But this one wasn't one that I was like, running out to grab right away.
It's funny like, because if I heard something that just had that section of vocals, like I wouldn't be interested at all. It was just I was willing to deal with it because of the mix, and now it's kind of grown on me.
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, that's cool too. Then that's how people, you get into stuff too. Things grow on you at times. But yeah, again, nothing wrong with this. I can hear, technically speaking, and just the musicianship. This band is tight, and they're right on top of it. So this is a newer band. How long have these guys been around?
This is their second full length. I don't know how long they've been around, honestly.
Yeah,
I think the first full length is dated like 2019. So.
Yeah, again, I can see why it's good, just not my thing. Here's the funny thing too. So when I was listening to these initially, when I was writing these notes, is I wrote them from Trev to yours, Mike, to then to Jeff's. So I went from this to Jeff's first pick, and it was almost like it was like whiplash, dude. It was insane.
You got your hands on this this record early, right, Mike?
I've had it. It's not out yet. Actually, the day this comes out, the record comes out. I've had it for a month.
That's cool. How did that happen? Did you explain that and I missed it? Sorry.
No. They reached out to me, and because I'd made a post about a hardcore band on Instagram or something, and they reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in listening to it. And
that's awesome.
When I read out, to be completely honest, when I saw the band's name and the description of blackened hardcore, I was like, I'm not going to be into this at all. but I listen to it anyways. And like I said, I've been digging the shit out of it for like a month.
I only listened to so I wasn't able to dig into this record. I was like in my car trying to do the Dropbox link, and it like wasn't working. I was like trying to drive, and then I was like, damn it. I was like, I guess this is gonna have to be the one that I can't get to. But I did listen to the one single that they had on Bandcamp, and it reminded me a little bit of, I don't know if any of you have seen the show Dead to Me on Netflix, but like she just listens to like grindcore, like just like super dark, like hardcore metal shit, like in her car, just blasts it, and because she just pissed off. It just reminded me of that. And I could just see myself listening to this like when I'm just fucking livid with something and just need to like sit in my car and just blast this shit and just get pissed. So definitely plan to dive into it.
I forgot to mention as well that the album is called The Aftermath of the Tragedy. I guess that was important.
Great title.
So when I put this on, I was like, did Michael pick this?
You had to guess.
Yeah, because it was very well. When I turned it on, it was very metalish, and I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." And then it had this hardcore thing to it, and I wrote, because we all know I don't understand subgenres of music, but I wrote, "Is this metalcore?" Because I didn't know. I don't know what metalcore is.
I'd call it metalcore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote down they had fantastic death metal drums and guitar. It definitely had like, there's a death metal band called Torture Killer, and it kind of gave me vibes about that, but then it would like switch into like this hardcore thing. It wasn't bad. I think for me personally, the back and forth between like the metal growl and then like the hardcore growl was like a little, I don't know, I could tell the difference, and it was kind of messing with me a little bit. Definitely not a bad album though.
I think Terror releasing their new album like just before I listened to this kind of eased me into it, because they have a song on their new one with dude from Cannibal Corpse. His name's, I don't know, I've never listened to Cannibal Corpse, but I think Corpse Grinder or something. And so I guess they kind of like pushed me in this direction. Now I'm just there. Pretty soon I'm gonna be wearing.
He's a convert.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Chris, you're up next.
I'll do it. Let's do this. For my local, it's an act called Velvet Bethany. The album was called Bliss City. This for me, the reason I kind of dig it is because so we keep talking about this, right? Like these modern bands, these younger bands, and these up and coming bands that still kind of gravitate to older sounds, and like just that's what they're doing, right? It's not like a gimmick. That's they like that sound and they want to write music that way. So this has that kind of early to mid 90s like alternative girl punk, like L7 or Veruca Salt, and I like it. So I wrote down there's a lot of high kind of poppy new wave punk energy. It still has attitude. It has a garage rock sound to it. I love the vocals. They're all at once strong, fragile, and dangerous. And just from beginning to end, to me, I feel like this is kind of a really strong, fun album. I just kind of really dig it. And I just came across them. I saw a poster. There was somebody else I saw was playing and they were on it. And so I was like, who is this? And then so I started following and listening to them and thought, you know what, let me bring it to Bandcamp Friday, see what the guys think.
I thought this was a really cool, like, I heard a whole bunch of mixed genres in there. Like, I feel like it was like, there was almost like some jazzy swing rock vibes in there, and then the punk vibes. And then the whole thing had that almost like atonal Riot Girl kind of punk vocals. And I thought the mixing of those two things was kind of cool. I will say I can only take so much of that vocal style. For me personally, this record, after a little while, that got a little fatiguing. the way that she sang, like her style of vocals, because it wasn't just, I think that style of vocals works over just straight up punk like for a while, but with this, the different types of like melody and musical sounds that were going on, I found that to get a little grating after a while trying to listen to that. So that was the only thing about it that I didn't like, but I did think I do think that they have a really interesting sound. It's like a really unique, really cool sound.
I dug they had really groovy guitars, and I dug that. And I feel like her cadence in her singing was different in almost every song, like way off, like completely different. Like usually when someone like their cadence is their cadence, right? But she was like, I don't know if she was just experimenting with other things, but like, so I heard like there was a song I was like, oh, this kind of sounds like Debbie Harry's like singing a song, and then the next one was definitely like Riot Girl style. And then there was a song that like her cadence was like fucking Henry Rollins. Like I was like, what is that? Like it was very, not, she doesn't sound like Henry Rollins.
No,
cadence,
I know what you mean,
right?
though,
So it was very like to the front, anger, aggressive vocal. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And I couldn't place it. Like she just kept going all over the place. So definitely cool. It was a cool album to check out. Maybe not something that I was gonna like grab and listen to over and over, but it's something, there's something for everybody. And I think this works for people, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally.
Trev said Henry Rollins, and I was trying to figure out if he meant like Black Flag Rollins band or like spoken word Henry Rollins.
no, like Rollins band, like yeah.
I agree though that I felt like this album was kind of disjointed is how I would describe it. Like it didn't, I don't know. There was a lot going on, but for me, a lot of days that's a positive, and I really dug it. Like I loved her voice and I loved the musicianship in here. I thought this was a really good album. Chris. Sorry.
Cool.
I was talking to.
Next, the live one is a band called, so this one I only found because I just was searching for live stuff and started listening to a bunch of bands that were live. I didn't want to pick a band I already knew and find a live album. I wanted to see if I could just kind of discover something. And I came across this, and I actually, at first, so the way I did it is I'd play a song and then I'd let the next one go through too, because I didn't want to just judge it based on that opening song, right? And then decide whether or not I was going to skip and look for something else. This one at first, my initial reaction was almost to kind of skip immediately. And I don't want to, it feels weird to say it, but sometimes there's, if a Southern accent, if it's a certain way, and I don't know what it is, I don't know what area it may be from, it can be kind of grating to me. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. But for some reason, this one's like the way this guy sang slightly had that for a sec, and then it didn't. So I'm talking about the band Lee Baines and the Gloryfiers. The album is Live at the Nick. This is straight up Southern rock and roll. It's got high energy, full of fiery guitar licks, driving rhythms. But I think the thing that I really liked too is it's very political, and it was very much, from a standpoint of like, just as a society as a whole, everybody really needs to just kind of take a step back and remember what being human is, right? And like, we got to stop separating each other and all that stuff. So I enjoyed listening to the show. It was a really fun show to listen to, and it's definitely a band I'm going to continue to try to find some stuff on, because like I said, at first I wasn't sure. Like I like Southern rock, certain bands, even classic rock bands. And this guy at first, or this band at first, I wasn't sure, but man, they sucked me in, and I enjoyed it.
Are they from Birmingham?
Alabama, yeah.
Yeah, Birmingham, Alabama. Okay.
Because you can hear it. It's pretty thick, and even the way he talks and even the way he sings. It's not, because sometimes you hear those guys with that accent, and then when they sing, it's kind of missing, right? Because they're singing with different kind of enunciation, I guess. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's if you go in the South, like when I was down there, like I started picking up on the different dialects, like the different accents, and where I lived, they were really close to Alabama, so they had almost like an Alabama draw to it. So it was something that I was kind of familiar with,
Yeah.
I dug it. Sorry, I just because I asked where they were from. I kind of spoke out of turn. Apologies for that. I liked it. I did, and I everything you just said. It was very political, very very modern with a classic sound. They had like almost like Bob Seger-esque guitar playing. Like it reminded me of like a Bob Seger songs and Bob Seger live even. I'm definitely gonna check out more. I want to hear more from them. I'm sold on it.
I thought this was really cool. I really want to hear more from them too. I've never heard of them before. It was kind of like gritty, like Americana style rock and roll mixed with punk. It reminded me of like Lucero, Drag the River, like that kind of style stuff. A little bit more upbeat than that stuff, but like, well, not Lucero. Lucero's like earlier albums, like definitely were pretty like lively, but like, yeah, he sounds, to me, he sounds like Tim Barry a lot when he's talking on stage. If you've ever seen Tim Barry play solo, Tim Barry does a very similar preachy political kind of like, does a lot of those audibles in between his songs. And that's just what it reminded me of. His drawl sounded a little bit similar to Tim Barry to me, but yeah, I loved the like left-wing political lyrics and vibe, message of like the tunes and stuff like that. They seemed like really, really fun. And he's talks a lot about being really passionate about where he's from and like his home and the people that are in the scene down there and stuff like that. So I definitely think if you're like, they seem like they're like a really fun they would be like a really fun hometown band to see like down there. So yeah, I really want to listen to some of their non-live records.
I'm wondering if this is a new movement, because I saw in some of the comments on Bandcamp a few times mentioning the New South, that this is this kind of political movement and these things happening in the South that are trying to change, some of what history's already kind of marred that area with,
Yeah, totally.
Interesting.
So that's what I was going to say. This reminds me a lot of another guy named Will Hodge, who does that Southern rock and roll, folky Americana sound, and who is proud to be from the South, but like proud of the good things, not like the shitty things. So yeah, I really enjoyed this album. It was a great pick. Going last is super easy.
Yeah, you can just piggyback off everybody. I love it.
All right. Lastly, I picked a band or a duo. They're out of Boston, Live and Let Live, but it's Live like the name Live, L-I-V, and Let L-I-V, Live. It's a duo. These two ladies have a kind of Americana folk bluegrass country-ish thing going with banjo and guitar, and there's a fiddle as well. I love bluegrass and that country Americana if done a specific way or done right. And I'm a killer. I'm a sucker for killer vocals and killer harmonization. And these two ladies harmonize as beautifully as the banjo and guitar playing together. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is just absolutely, for me, I absolutely loved it. I loved it the moment it started playing, and as it ended, I was like, play it again. I probably listened to this 3 or 4 times straight in a row. There's like a tenderness to the harmonization, and it's perfect, dude. I love it. The second track too, I loved it because it was so haunting, and the fiddle was just so good on that track. I can't speak highly enough. This is one that if they're ever around, I'm going to be checking out, whenever I'm out to visit Trev, and we're going to look to see if they're playing live. Because yeah, Live and Let Live, man. They're good.
You can look.
We're going.
I agree, Chris, wholeheartedly. Loved this band. I don't think that you're going to be seeing them live because it looks like on their Bandcamp. Well, it looks like on their Bandcamp they didn't do anything after 2017. This came out in 2017, and I was super bummed too because I'm stoked that they're from Boston, or that they're from the Boston area. Again, love discovering. So thanks for bringing this one to the table, because I'm always super stoked when there's like another local band that I've not heard, and this is a totally different genre that you don't hear too much of from around here. Apparently they're both named Olivia, so that's how they like came up with the name Live and Let Live. So I think that's super clever. And I wrote down beautiful beautiful harmonies and a beautiful recording. I love the like stripped down acoustic. They recorded this like in a house, and just them, and I can totally picture them probably being just there with their instruments and like one large diaphragm condenser mic, just or probably something like that. You know, there's a really great natural reverb and like from the space that they're in that you can hear in there. And it's just beautiful. It's their harmonies reminded me a little bit of a band that is from the area, from the Cape, called the Parkington Sisters, but this is like even more of a, you know, stripped down like acoustic folk than they are. And yeah, absolutely loved it. I'm glad that you brought it, and I'm bummed that it doesn't look like they're doing much right now. Maybe they're just maybe they're just paused for a while, but like, yeah, it looks like nothing after 2017 on the Bandcamp. So I don't know. Hopefully we see more.
You can have them come play the backyard, Chris.
There we go. We'll reunite them.
So Chris, you sent me this in like under like different circumstances, and it marred your thinking.
Dude.
Fucked with me. I mean, as far as like they're fantastic. I love bluegrass music. The harmonies were great, but can I dive into this, Chris? Can I?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Tell Chris hits me with this.
Well, first you have to rewind. You have to say why, like set the setting. You had this idea that you thought would be amazing.
Yeah. All right. So I have this idea of like an evil, like for a show, right? It'll be like an evil revival tent kind of thing, and with Coffin Salesman at the helm of it. Like I just see Arya as like this evil preacher guy. You know what I mean? Like
you got to see your friends in hell, man.
Have
you seen them? They're from Boston. All right, we got to bring them next month. All right.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. So, and and I had this idea, and like
that he'd finished the show with this kind of fire and brimstone thing, right? In the tent with the little bulbs that are lighting the thing. This whole feel to it, right?
And
so that's the setting. So Trev had this idea and he told me about it. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. You just got to find like supporting acts that'll work. Like
that was someday. That's not anything, you know, in the near future. So so he puts his list up and he like texts me. He's like, "Oh man, this band Live and Let Live, they would be awesome. They would be great as an opener for the Evil Revival tent." And I'm listening to this like these sweet sounding bluegrass. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get where you're coming with this. And like I thought, like I know, like I'm hoping Chris was playful with it, but he was like kind of like bantering with me about it, you know, and going back and forth. And I was like, I mean, hey man, I just don't get it. I appreciate you, you know, I just don't understand it. So like I had this. So like I'm listening to this whole thing and I'm like waiting for this moment where it's something
where it gets spooky.
Yeah, and it just never came. So I was, you know, false pretense that had me all messed up with it. But as far as local bluegrass music goes, it doesn't get any better than that.
Let's finish the story too, because then I'm listening to all the music this morning again, just in order, right? And as I got to that and I was listening to the first track, I was like, what the hell was I thinking? And I texted Trev and I'm like, dude, I must have been pretty baked when I was listening to it the first time, because I see what you mean. This doesn't really work. No. And then the second song kicks in, and that second song is just haunting enough I think that's what kind of gave me that feel. It kind of had a haunting feel to it.
I don't know. I was like, man, what did I say? Like you were like sacrificing people. Like if you have these guys open up this event, it would not go well. And but that doesn't say like, you know, I mean, I think they'd fit right at home at a bluegrass show. No, I just don't. I had a different look at this band because of this album, because of that. Like I was just like, I don't get it. Like I mean, I must have listened to it 3 or 4 times trying to figure this out, and I'm like, and because like I don't know if you caught on. After a while, I just stopped texting Chris about it because I'm like, I just don't see it, and I don't think he's gonna see what I'm saying, so I'm just gonna stop texting about it. So, But yeah,
this is gonna end in an argument.
It definitely wouldn't have, but yeah.
Nah, yeah.
I want to reserve my slot right now for my sermon at the Doom Revival tent. And when I looked up this band, I found an Indian instrumental band by the same name. So I have no fucking clue what anybody's talking about.
It's the ampersand. It's the ampersand.
Yeah, you wrote and it was an ampersand. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it's my fault.
They were a little tough to find at first.
That's my fault.
I thought we were going in a whole nother direction.
My site's like, what the hell are they talking about right now?
Save that band that you found and bring them next month.
Yeah.
No, because they weren't very good.
Well, all right, never mind.
I mean, I'm sure they were great.
But Mike, what were you thinking when you thought that was my pick? Were you like, what the hell's wrong with Chris now?
I obviously knew I fucked something up because in like my headspace, I was just like, you know what, that's the effort I have to give right now.
Oh man. All right, Jeff,
we're
up on yours.
Next month I'm reserving right now. My local pick next month, Trev, is Your Friends in Hell. You're gonna love it. Local. I feel like I also kind of grabbed at low-hanging fruit for this one. But anyway, my local pick was this person, Jesus the Dinosaur. It's just I just did the single Windowsill, and I don't have too much to say. They played at my venue, but I didn't actually work the show. And I was bummed about it. I actually really wanted to work the show. It was Sunday after the Ilix, so that wasn't going to happen. But it's just cool, kind of mellow folk rock vibes. They have a full length record coming out, I believe, soon. I think the show was supposed to be the record release party, so I haven't heard like the whole record yet, but I know a whole bunch of people in that cohort of folks from Boston. So this person, their name is Tommy, and they play also in a band with Chad Stokes from Dispatch and State Radio. I toured with Chad like a really long time ago, like 11 years ago, with State Radio as a guitar tech. So I've always kind of known that group of people, and they're all super talented musicians and stuff like that. And so Jesus the Dinosaur stuff is kind of similar to Chad's solo stuff. It's kind of got a mellow, it reminded me specifically of a track on Chad's record called Rain Song, and this had very similar vibes to that. It's just kind of that like mellow, spacey folk rock kind of stuff, and I dig it. I really want to hear the full length record and hear more from Jesus the Dinosaur, so that's why I chose this one.
I didn't write a lot. I didn't have a lot. I think I was rushing to get your picks listened to.
Well, I was super late, so that's on me.
So and it was a single, and I was like, oh, I can go back to this, and I don't think I ever ended up going back to it. You know what it gave me? Beck Mellow Gold had some like folkish rock kind of songs to it, and I mean, it had reminiscence of that to me. That's what it reminded me of. And I love that album. That's probably the only Beck album I like, to be honest with you. But yeah, so I unfortunately didn't give it another listen like I wanted to, so I apologize.
I like this. Like I said, when I listened to it right after Mike's Black Death Metal, it was a little jarring, but it was chill. This is very nice. I wrote that this is lo-fi. Absolutely love the lyrics. Great lyrics on this song. Very chill indie folk. I said this would be something to have. This would be a nice track to have with a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, sitting on my deck, like listening to the earth wake up, right, and the birds chirping and that sun's coming up, and just put this on and have my cup of coffee. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, I'm definitely checking out more Jesus the Dinosaur.
I dug it, but I thought it was a little low energy. But I guess when I think about it the way Chris just described it, it's fucking perfect for that. Like sitting on my back porch in the sun, drinking a cup of coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. So my second pick for our live album pick is this band These Wild Plains, and the record is Thrilled to Be Here live. They're this kind of, so my journey to discovering this band is that some of the members of this band played in another band called the Dirty Bangs, which was a little bit more of a rock and roll, like a folk rock and roll kind of thing, like a little bit closer to, I don't know, Lucero maybe, or Drag the River. Like it had a little bit higher energy punk, like there was more punk influence on it, if I remember correctly. But they're not really around anymore. They used to kind of play with, they had the same manager as Tigerman Woe. And so that's how I got into them. But These Wild Plains is a more gritty, like Americana rock band, country rock band. And I like this live record. I think it's got the record isn't the best mix in the world, but I do think it was like pretty decently recorded, and it gives a good representation of like their energy live. I have not seen them live, but it sounds like from this record that it would be really fun to see them live. There's a lot of low end on this record. It's kind of boomy a little bit, and I think it gets like, there's parts of it that are a little bit muddy, but it just listening to it made me feel like, oh, I think that being there watching them would be really fun. It's not typically like the style of music that I'm into all the time, but once in a while, like there's a band that does it really well. It's really fun, and I think they're a band I would rather see live more than probably I would be listening to their records. So I thought it was kind of an interesting pick, and they are local to the Boston area as well. So
yeah, I was going to ask you if they were local. I thought that's what they were.
All three of my picks were local. Yeah,
that's awesome.
This time around.
Hey, whatever. That's good. It's a deep talent pool you're picking from. Yeah, man. Twangy guitars sound great on live albums. They really do. The vocals on this one seemed a little off to me. I don't know if it was just too low. Like I couldn't, you know what I mean? I dug them. I want to hear more from them. By the second track, I was totally like vibing with the album, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like the first song I had was like, yeah, this is good. By the second song, I was just kind of like, I was just grooving right along to it. I'm going to check out more from them. I was into it. Which is funny because, you know, I always say I'm not a big country guy. But when you do it right, you can do anything right. I'm going to like it.
Right.
For sure. They definitely do it right.
It's funny because I wrote this down. I put Trev's quote because Trev, you've said this before, right? When it comes to country, there's people who are like, well, I don't like country, but you haven't dug. You haven't tried to find. There's always going to be somebody out there that does it a way that makes you go, hold on, I like this. And it connects, right? So first, let me just say this. We've also talked about the covers of albums. I love this cover because it's a photograph, but it's a photograph of the stage. And so just the look of it, you can see the color in the sky. It already feels like the sun's getting ready to go down. It feels like I should be sitting in a lawn chair, you know, in front of this stage. And I don't drink beer, but I feel like I have to be holding a cold beer in my hand. Like I have to, right? And dude, it's great. It's got a very country rock and roll vibe. I put bluesy, honky tonk guitar work. I said, and I love it. This is, again, another proper live album where you can hear the crowd. You can hear the reaction after the songs. The band sounds great. And I mean, anytime the lap steel's there, I'm done. I'm in. I love it. And this is such a, it's,
pedal steel.
Yeah, they're so good, dude. So good.
Chris kind of stole the words out of my mouth, but like, I love a twangy guitar. I love that telly sound, like that country rock. I don't really like country music, like, and I get that we just said you haven't dug far enough, but I don't, but I like it. I like it when it's mixed with other stuff. And this just like reminded me of being in a shitty bar with that tiny stage and the floor that creaks when it's empty, like the whole, or like, I also don't drink, but being in a field somewhere with like a pickup truck and my buddies, just those good time, like American, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know, like that very stereotypical like country Americana style good times. Like I really enjoyed this. And then the last song was a cover of a song that I was like, I know I've heard this shit before. But I guess it was like an older country song that apparently I had heard in bars or something when I was a kid. Small
Nice.
Town Saturday Night. I don't know who the original artist was, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's very important to disclose that when most people say they don't like country, and myself included, I don't like country. When I say that, what I'm very specifically talking about is that I do not like songs about fucking blue jeans and tractors and
Right.
being a conservative white nationalist who loves your small town in whatever the deep south and thinks that, you know, big cities are the devil, like,
Right.
and
Right.
is racist, homophobic, you know, misogynistic, and, you know, all of the other isms, because that has somehow evolved in pop country music since 9/11. There's a whole like science and study of how 9/11 was really like the pivot point for like what American country became. And it's pop country specifically. It's the freaking Kenny Chesney and Rascal Flatts and like Carrie Underwood and all that kind of crap. It's absolute garbage. And that is very specifically what I'm talking about when I say I don't like country.
Yeah.
But there is absolutely real, you know, rock and folk influenced country music that is decent and enjoyable to listen to, and like actually does what it's supposed to, like is what it's supposed to be. And so I think these guys are kind of trying to do that thing, which is
This
cool.
album was fantastic.
Killer,
you know. So yeah, and then my last pick was so I had asked the group if it was cool to bring a band to the table that I know for certain is not really doing anything anymore right now, although
It's a
maybe
fucking shame.
maybe there's hope. Maybe there's hope in the future.
This 4-way episode thing is going to make it happen.
I'd love to. They did recently do, so this band is called The Digs, and they're all obviously local band from Boston, friends of mine. The lead singer and songwriter for this band, Jeff Demas, he had moved away for a while, and he is back in the Boston area now. I have not gotten to hang out with them yet because they did play a show and sort of try to do like a little reunion thing in Lowell a couple weeks ago, but I wasn't able to go to it, which bummed me out because I was working. But the album is Kinetic. It's an EP. It was the last EP that they put out, and I personally think Jeff is like one of the best songwriters I've ever known. Him and my pal Carrie Ann, C.E. Skidmore, they're like neck and neck for me of like two of like the best songwriters that I know. And Jeff has this, he writes melodies and guitar riffs that are very classic rock and roll kind of guitar riffs, but then blends them with punk rock in a beautiful way. We always called the Digs punk and roll. They called themselves punk and roll. That was like the kind of subgenre that they went with, Trev, for you who love subgenres. And so you know, I love this record. I think it's some of the best music that he wrote throughout the course of the band. Laces, I think, is my favorite tune. And they're just such a great band. They were so much fun to watch live, and their songs just get into your head, and they're just fantastic. So they still have an active Bandcamp, so you can still buy their music. I don't think you can buy it. I don't know if you can buy it on physical copies anymore, but like you can still reach out and support them if you want. And I just want people to know them and hear them. I think they're just an important band from Boston's history.
So one of the coolest things when getpunk.com started the record club a few years back, I want to say it was like 2016 when they started it. So it's been, you know, several years now. One of the coolest things was that I always felt like I was like in this like exclusive club where we're going to find like the best Boston bands of all time. And the Digs, my introduction to them was their album Manic. And it's awesome. I have it on vinyl. So the fact that I have a vinyl copy of it too makes me happy. Especially if they don't have anything else like that's physical anymore. You know what I mean? If you could take these guys, and if this was the 90s, they would call this would be one of the best rock alternative bands out there.
Mhm.
They've got these like killer hard rock guitars at times, and then like they'll change up. They had like a soft song on there too. Like that was very 90s, right? Where you would have this hard ass album with like one or two of these like really like softer songs mixed into it, you know, that kind of break up the album. I think the track ordering on this was very, very strategic. And you're going to be hooked on it from the very beginning. And is Jeff the singer?
Yes. Yeah. Jeff Demas. Yeah.
His voice sticks out to me. It always has. You know, again, I'm my only real dive into them is Mannequin than this, but like it's yeah, I mean they're a band where you listen to them again and it was like they just come out at a time where like if it was 20 years ago they would have all this money just thrown at them, you know. Yeah, I'm glad you brought the Digs to the round table.
Yeah, dude, I put this driving rock and roll, head bobbing swagger attitude, killer production, feels like alternative 90s punk. Love the last song. Who are these guys? That's what I wrote. And yeah, hello. So how long have they been around, or have they not been around now?
Well, so Steve, the drummer, was at the Ilix. I don't know if you guys met him. He used to run Ocelot Records, which is like those hoodies that a bunch of us had.
Yeah.
Becky had one on, and I had mine on, and I think Steve probably had his on.
There was a few people with those. Yeah.
Yeah. So Steve's band is Taken by Vultures. He was the drummer from Taken by Vultures.
Okay.
So the Digs was him on drums, and they were a 3-piece, which was also awesome because they were one of those 3 pieces that rocked it live. Like you weren't missing anything. They filled the sound, like they had the energy, like they were still so enjoyable to see as a 3-piece. You weren't missing anything without having like another guitar player or whatever. Jeff was great. So it was Jeff Demas and Steve Knowles, and then Andrew Deducis, who was not there, but he wasn't at the Ilix, but he was the bass player.
And when did they split up, or when did they stop being the Digs?
They kind of called it quits, I want to say not too long after Kinetic came out. So maybe that was 2018,
so a few years now.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Struggling Artists podcast will reunite them. Yeah, let's bring back the Digs.
Yeah,
make some t-shirts. Bring back the Digs.
I hope they get back together because this band in this album is fucking awesome. Yeah. I was a little bummed when I found out that they weren't making any new music for me to hear.
Yeah,
and I like the cover too. The artwork's awesome.
Yes, they've had great artwork on all of their records. I think they've had Doug McCormick do some of it. Local artist who's fantastic. So
awesome.
Yeah, got to bring him back.
Let's do it.
We should. Yeah, we got to. Let's get him on the pod. Let's get him on everyone's podcast.
Definitely.
No, they're really good. And again, I'm pumped that you brought him to this. If I could go back with this record club, because I was there from the very beginning, and all the good bands that I was like, man, these guys are going to be huge. These guys are going to, you know what I mean? That for whatever reason, like Choke Up was another band. Like I fucking love them. And they're not, I think they're doing I think they're getting back together for something, like a couple shows or something. But the Digs always stuck out. That was an album that always stuck out when I got it. I was like, yeah, this is really good stuff. So
sweet.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's it, right? That's everybody's picks.
That's it.
That's July in the books.
That's July in the books.
Another one down.
In the books, baby.
Chris, take us out of here.
Oh man, let's get out of here then. So listen for podcasts that I do. Let's see, History Creeps Tube time, silence your phones, out of the shadows. I've also got some YouTube content that's coming. I've also got some special projects in the works. So I'm stoked, man. I'm going to be busy for the rest of this year, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So look for it. You can also find the network website, bicbp-radio.com. You'll find a whole slew of other podcasts to check out as well.
Mike.
Oh, me? You can check out my website where there's nothing happening currently.
Every month he's like, oh, me.
Yeah. Fuck. I forget that I'm involved. My YouTube channel where there's also nothing happening currently. But yeah. Yeah, and my Instagram at punkafolk. That's about it.
You can check out Dirty Decibels podcast at dirtydecibelscast.com or anchor.fm/Dirty Decibels or on Instagram at DirtyDBcast. And we're on a bit of a hiatus still, so stay tuned for more things coming soon.
And I am Trev, host of the Struggling Artist podcast. You can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts, if you care to listen. And podcast TSA on most socials.